This is Governor Bobber. I like good day, doctors.
George Allen here. Good day, doctors.
Hey, this is Governor Chris Christie from New Jersey. Good day, doctors.
Go! You're watching Dr. Politics.
It is Friday, July 5th. Almost done with summer. We're having that sweltering heat wave right now. Today felt like 107. ACs all over have been put to their paces around here.
Yeah, and the humidity. I mean,
the humidity's insane.
I walk out of the house and it's like it just hits you like a ton of bricks.
Oh, let me tell you, I went running this morning. I did 6 miles.
How can you breathe?
Oh, wow.
It takes what do you call it? And I usually don't run out of water, but I ran out of water this time.
Yeah.
Which tells you, why doesn't Montgomery County have water fountains at the parks and whatnot along the way where you can refill the water? They used to have them. I remember when I was a kid, they used to have water fountains,
I think a lot of that stuff was deemed unsafe during COVID.
No, but they were gone before then. I mean,
I think, and I don't know about this, how sanitary those are, and there's probably a cost to making sure that they stay running and stuff like that, and so they have to provide us with other things. Okay, there's more important things,
Free gym memberships, right?
Yeah, free gym memberships.
That's right.
So yeah, I mean, as you were talking in the pre-show, I mean, it's just. I went and looked at that, and yeah. I mean, look, I'm fine with that because it's like that's a pretty decent thing to do for the citizens of Montgomery County. I mean, a lot of people could take advantage of something like that. The center hours, I looked at that. They're not all that great because you said like 9 o'clock. That's awfully late to open for a gym if you want to go and work out. I mean, it's like I'm at the gym Monday through Friday at 5 a.m. when LA Fitness opens and get things out of the way. So 9 a.m. is just like it's way too late. But it probably works for a lot of other people, and if it's free, what the heck. So I think that has I don't know. I mean, if their equipment is halfway decent, I think that's not a bad deal. But that's something that I would say I would be okay with my tax dollars going for. Rather than a majority of the things that our county throws money away at.
Yeah. I mean, I know from early voting, because early voting, they had one of the early voting centers, Wheaton Library, and they've got a gym. They got some really nice equipment there, like kind of fancy stuff. Which you would not think is the county would put
once again, our tax dollars at work.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was somewhat underutilized. When they were charging their fees or something like that, and they're trying to boost their image and boost the utilization of that. And when the program ends this year, I guess. I get maybe part of their hope is that people will sign up for paid memberships. So.
Yeah, and I'm willing to bet they'll start doing it for free again next year. That's.
Yeah, I mean that wouldn't surprise me either. I mean, it's one of those things.
It's like they do all this stuff, but we were off last week because I was out seeing Dr. Ben Carson, who was speaking in Baltimore County. He had a great time there. Baltimore County GOP. You're doing a heck of a job there with that dinner was awesome. But I must say the salad was the best salad at any county dinner that I've been to. They have fresh mozzarella and tomatoes. And hey,
God.
Dr. Jason, how are you?
Who's joined us?
What's up?
I was just talking about how great the food was over in
Oh,
Baltimore
salad.
County, how they had the best salad.
I thought they didn't even give you butter.
They didn't give me butter. Yes, that is true. But the salad was good. Yeah, we got bread, but no butter. And I'm thinking, like, isn't Baltimore County like a premier dairy county? Like, don't they have dairy farms in the northern part of the county? It's like,
I feel
shouldn't
like
somebody go?
maybe Hartford. Maybe Hartford's known a little bit more. But
Yeah,
Wasn't this
I mean,
was this a cheese pizza salad?
I've eaten tomato, mozzarella. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
All the
I was-
ingredients to warm Dwight's heart.
I haven't seen eat.
Well, the other thing other than the salad is labor's back in power in Great Britain.
Yeah, I know. And that-
What was? How does that segue go? What was that? From salad to Tories?
Okay, the Empire has seen better days. This is like when the Klingon Empire had Gowron as the Chancellor, you know.
Yeah.
And then
But that's the first
Mark
time
Fox.
since like 2010? 2000.
Yeah. So you know, I went and I looked back, and so we had. Oh boy, we got another one here coming in. You had the Tories from 80 to 97, Labor from 97 to 2010, and then the Tories back from 2010 to
Why can't I add him to the
2024.
stage?
It's a long
So,
Chris,
time.
go out and go back in if you can hear my voice. I can't bring you up.
So we see that, you know, 14, 15, whatever shifts, you know, this somewhere in that range when you get to a decade and a half, give or take. That's about as long as you're going to run in the modern era before there's a change of power.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think the Tories were lucky to last as long as they were, considering that, you know, between Boris Johnson and Liz Truss and all, you know, and then
Welcome, Chris Anderson.
hey, Chris.
Hey, how y'all doing?
All
Yeah,
right.
we're talking about the elections in the Empire,
Say again?
but the British
UK.
elections.
British election.
Okay, thank y'all guys for having me. Great to see y'all.
Good
Yeah.
to see you too.
So, as you know, it's like, but I tell you this: Labor will not. Mark my words. Labor will not be in power for more than 2.5, 3 years if they want a good year. They're going to be tossed out in 3 years because one, Labor has a bunch of kooky ideas. The Empire has the same problem with illegal immigration that we have here. And by the way, don't you think British Airways need to change their name to British Empire Airways? And their tagline, instead of one world, the sun never sets on the Empire. But anyways, back to the point is, I think what do you call it? Tory will be back. Like I said, 3 years is the most I think Labor can hold on because Labor always messes things up. I think the best run they had was when Tony Blair was head of Labor. You know,
Who's the one who has allowed them to not wear ties anymore? I remember I saw a text the other day from you.
yeah, I believe that may have been Tony Blair. That may have been Tony Blair's. But if our expert on Great Britain is watching, he can message us when that happens.
I was gonna say I don't have much to say because I don't really know that.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, this is an interesting election. I mean, Sunak calling for the snap election like that, I kind of wondered why he would go ahead and do this before he had to call an election, right? He still had time.
It's not like the government fell or anything like that. You know, it's not.
It almost seems as like, you know, that he was tired of the criticism and he calls an election so that he can just say, they're going to kick me out sooner or later. I'm just going to go sooner. We'll call this election and I'm done. And on the campaign trail, it's not like you need to vote for us because we're winners. It's like you need to vote for us to keep Labor from getting a super majority. It's like, what kind of a campaign are you running here? I mean, how serious are you about keeping your job if that's the best that you can do? So it's just a bizarre thing. So Labor's got a super majority, but the turnout was not that good. And as a percentage of the vote, it's just it wasn't that bad. I mean, Labor had what, 34%, and towards that like 24%, and so I mean, it was split three ways, but it wasn't. But the way the elections go, where the parliamentary is formed, is that it creates this uneven balance of where the seats are and everything like that. So you wind up with this kind of crazy looking thing. I mean, the by-election 3 years ago, the Tories wiped the map, and you think, okay, they're doing really well, but you're right, Dwight, in terms of at least the Labor's going to face a problem, which is just that how are they going to turn things around? Take all the people who are disaffected. They were tired of all the stuff the Tories had done wrong and how punk the economy was. They're not going to be able to turn that around on a dime. And they've got 5 years before the next election. Do they last 3? Who knows? I mean, there may be pressure and they may have to call an early election or something like that. If they get another by-election, they may see that super majority and they may take a big hit. But the other side of it is that the Tories, they're kind of in a leadership crisis, right? Sunak is not going to be the guy leading the party going forward after this performance. Liz Truss, she lost her seat in Parliament, and I don't think she was planning to come back anyway. But a lot of these former people,
and Boris Johnson, their answer to Donald Trump,
they usually, even if a former prime minister usually remains a member of Parliament for the most part. But this was a wholesale sweep. Though a couple of the shadow cabinet for Labor lost their seats in Parliament, which shows that they're just not really convinced. The voters were looking for change, and that's really all that this was, is that they were just tired of this and they want to move on and see what happens. And for heaven's sakes, I mean, this is what Nigel Farage's 7th attempt at being elected, and he finally won. So it also shows kind of the mood. He's going to be a royal pain in the rear end, even just as that one guy in Parliament, right?
Yep.
And if there's anybody that's got to deal with him, I'm glad that it's Labor that's got to deal with Nigel Farage, rather than having the Tories have to deal with Nigel Farage at this point. But who knows? I mean, Farage, maybe he's on the cusp of building a different kind of movement in the UK and changing things. Because you look.
I think he is. I read about that today. He won. If you don't mind me interrupting, he won. He won today, didn't he?
Yeah, he won. He won a seat in Parliament.
Right. I think it's a conservative push around the globe since Donald Trump has done this. I mean, I've been with Dwight to several of these conventions, and I met Nigel, and I think everybody's trying to push a conservative narrative where the world's so tired of the liberal nonsense and sending men into women's restrooms or into women's sports that's really pissed a lot of people off. So it's time conservative men speak up, and I think Nigel is leading the charge in the UK.
Yeah, and that's a good point.
That's right. I mean, I think what you have is that Farage, for whatever you think about him, and it's just that he doesn't mind speaking out and speaking up, right? He says things that others won't say. The other members of the British Parliament tend to be, like a lot of other politicians. Oh, well, we can't speak ill or whatever. We can't get out of our political correctness bubble or whatever, political bubble. So we're doing this. But Farage shakes things up. And so that's why he and Trump and Boris Johnson and these guys, I mean, they are a different breed of people that just creates a whole new thing and just upsets the whole balance that just drives the liberals crazy. And he's going to be a thorn in the side of Keir Starmer. I mean, he's because he's now got a seat in Parliament, he's got a voice. He'll be a backbencher technically because he's part of the minority, but he's going to speak up. He will disrupt things and try to create something there. So it'll be very interesting to watch how that goes. And it's to me, I always thought that parliamentary system is always kind of fascinating versus our system and how that operates. We look here, you look in France, Macron, he called for early parliamentary
He's
election.
about to be out of a job too.
Well, he's okay. He's okay as the president. He doesn't have to step down. The thing is that if in the second round, if Le Pen's party, if their National Rally Party, gains more seats and they, if they can get the majority, then her 28-year-old protege becomes the prime minister. So then Macron is sitting there with a 28-year-old kind of right-wing prime minister, and then he's got a problem for himself.
Well, let's also point out that these are right-wing, European right-wingers, kind of like Euro conservatives. They're not quite the same as American conservatives. Like a conservative in Britain is for labor. They support, the rail workers and the coal miners and so on, only real, true American type conservative they've had was Margaret Thatcher, who did privatize coal and took on big labor in Great Britain, frankly.
Right.
I think, John Major was a good prime minister, but he was a pale imitation of Margaret Thatcher. But then again, that's pretty much every prime minister in Great Britain since Margaret Thatcher.
Well, look, we look as conservatives, we look to Reagan as a model of who we want as president, somebody who can be like that, or in general. I think for the hardcore Tories, they still look at Margaret Thatcher. Will we ever get another Margaret Thatcher type of person? And that's been very hard. Where is that person that can kind of do that and just hold them together? And you're right about the conservatives. They're very different than what they would be here over there. The Tories are just as willing as Labor to support these very expensive pensions for the for British workers. It doesn't matter if they can't afford it as a government, but this is something that both sides agree to basically do.
And people think Maryland's going to have a pension crisis the next 20 years, with all the state employees that are slated to retire. They've got it even worse than Maryland does for pensions. But,
well, and that's the thing about France too, is that, Macron, I give him credit. He was trying to raise the retirement age, because in France, the whole retirement system was killing them. But you have a very powerful force in the unions and things like that, and they're pushing for change. They want to make sure that they get that age 60 retirement and all those cushy benefits. So
60,
and it's kind of like, damn the government. We don't care if the government can't afford it.
See,
we want our benefits.
I know, I've been to Europe a number of times. They always refer to Americans as workaholics. That's what makes us better than you guys. You guys want to retire at 60. We don't. Most of us don't want to retire till we get into our 70s, frankly.
Yeah. Well, I remember when AIM used to have. I brought in a bunch of the interns. We get applications from overseas, and so we had several from Germany and places like that. And then I go back home and I try to stay in touch with them. I was amazed how much, what they call vacation, but they call it holiday, right? Going on
month of August.
How many holidays they took. There was not a lot of work going on. And a lot of those young people in Europe can't find jobs, right? They can only get part-time jobs at best. And that's not, those countries have got a lot of problems there. One of the problems, I was listening to a report about Great Britain, is that they want to do this whole energy transition. That's how they want to turn the economy around. But somebody was pointing out that the country is too small to make this happen. They don't have a capacity to be able to do this green energy thing on a scale necessary to make it worthwhile. And yet, look to the U.S. It's like, they want the Joe Biden model. Okay, right? How has that worked? The green, just all this green energy stuff, right? Oh yeah, that's been that is a model for the rest of the world to follow.
I mean, like Jason, let me bring you in on this. As a future resident of the great state of Texas, where oil is king, would you buy an EV to drive to Texas if you had to? Could an EV get you to Texas in a reasonable amount of time?
I think it would get me there, but I think the planning of the trip, you got to plan out your stops a lot more. I have no idea, depending on what route you go, right? You're either going to go down through, you got to go down through Virginia, but you can choose a path to go through Tennessee the whole way, or you can go through Mississippi and Alabama and Louisiana. And I've gone the Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama way. And I got to tell you, there's nowhere to charge that car in Louisiana.
There isn't.
It is nothing but just flat land, and you can't see anything. And there's no exits on the interstates for like 30 miles. It's so I don't know. I don't know if I would trust the electric car. I think I would get stuck in the bayou somewhere, and have to live off crawfish or whatever. So no.
And you see how American manufacturers are moving away. Ford can't sell their F-150 Lightnings.
Ford has canceled a bunch of. Ford had a lot more planned to manufacture, and they canceled a bunch of them because they can't sell them.
Right. I mean, that's been a huge problem. All the manufacturers, they dove right in. Right. They decided we're going to spend billions of dollars on our EVs because that's what everybody wants, and they're going to be mandated by 2035 or 2050 anyway. So let's do that. And then what happened? The bottom fell out of the market. Nobody's buying them. I mean, Musk can't sell. They their deliveries, their sales are way down. So, they're all suffering. And then so our the major manufacturers are like, yeah, we're going to pull back on this. We can't do this right now.
It's like when I went to go buy my Escalade, they had maybe one Escalade on the entire lot, but they had like rows and rows of the Cadillac Lyric, which is their EV, and they're not selling those. What they're selling are the Escalades, the ESVs, the supersized ones, and the baby size like the one I've got.
I have a friend who works at a Volkswagen dealership in Salisbury, and I think they make one EV.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
they've sold one in the past year. The whole year.
Did they bring the bus back as an EV too? The Volkswagen bus?
That might be like some sort of like I don't think you're walking onto a Volkswagen lot and seeing one of those. It might be
but it would be a great nostalgia play, just like a Bug, right? It's like
But
for those of us that are old enough to have seen tons and tons of those things on the road.
That's probably you and I and Dave might be the only ones old enough. Or Chris and Jason are hardly. I mean, when you tell Jason about VW Bug, he thinks of the one that came out a few years ago, not Herbie the Love Bug.
Yeah, very, very different model.
Or actually, old school Bumblebee was a old VW Bug.
And the way dealerships work too is that they have, they're basically financing the cars on their lots until they're bought, right, and sold and collect the money for it. So cars on your lot, cost you money, and you want to move them. So if you've got a bunch of EVs sitting there, that's not good. I mean, those cars are really expensive, and so you will inevitably lose money on that unless Ford, unless the headquarters guy, GM and those guys kick in more money to do that, which sometimes, I'm sure that they are giving them some pretty strong incentives. We've manufactured these cars, take them, and we're going to give them to you at this very steep discount because we just got to keep our factories humming for this. But now that is going backwards, right? They're cutting back on a lot of that.
That with the high interest rates, people are just not buying cars right now.
Well, that's the thing too. I mean, the average car payment in America is like over $600 now. I mean, the price of cars has just gotten so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the washer drill.
The price of everything's gotten crazy. But that Volkswagen Beetle, to talk about that was a good car. The old model. I had one of those when I was in college. I would buy one of those today. Them things last forever. I think everybody should buy one of those.
Yeah, I know. That's amazing. That's actually one of the cars back in the day that really was something you could drive forever. Most,
Forever.
most cars, you were lucky to get 100,000 miles on, but the Bug, people just drove them forever and ever.
Yeah,
It was
they're like
amazing.
the Honda Accords right now. People drive Honda. There's a Honda with 1 million miles at the Honda factory somewhere in the Carolinas. I think Honda's in North Carolina or South Carolina, one of those places. They got 1 million mile Accord there. But I mean, it's car. I mean, here's the thing. You look at the average price of a new car is probably about close to $40,000. I could be wrong, but I think it's about
you're pretty close. The Wall Street Journal reported today that prices are down about 3% this year, but they're at $45,000 average.
Yeah, that's really out of the price range for a lot of families making 60, 75, 30. If you're making $55,000 and $75,000, that's a big chunk of your take-home pay. If you're financing,
as Jason said, I mean, look, with interest rates the way they are, you don't see as many of the ads about where you don't have the 0% financing, you don't have the 2.99 or 1.99% financing. When interest rates are as high as they are now, the car payments are just ridiculous. And if you've got a mortgage or you got rent to pay and things like that, it's just out of sight, and it's really, really hard. So this is Joe Biden's America right now.
and with the price of gas where it is, it cost me close to $82 to fill up my Escalade.
Yeah,
$80.
but remember, Biden said that gas prices were down from a year ago, and I think the report was that they were down like a penny.
Well, seriously, what that reminds me of, right? Let's say you have a kid, he's constantly getting 57s on tests, right? He's getting 57s. Then he starts getting 59s. Is he passing? No, he's still failing. And it's like, hey, I'm up 2 points, from that's pretty much, and the thing everyone I think is wanting to hear about is the last presidential debate with Joe Biden. One, I must commend President Trump, what discipline he showed at that debate. He just stood there and watched that slow-moving car crash called Joe Biden 2024.
Right. Yeah, look, a lot of people were concerned. I think some conservatives thought, why did he agree to these rules? No audience, microphone off when they're not speaking, and all these kind of things. But I think those rules actually worked in his favor. Trump had no audience to feed off of. By keeping the mic off when Biden was speaking and everything like that, prevented really him from interjecting any of the remarks, and it kind of put him in that box of saying he managed to maintain control, and it was kind of a Trump we haven't seen before, but it was a huge benefit for him, and it's just watching Biden implode. Right, America watched Biden just go right down the toilet.
Still talking about it. They're still talking about it. I think
it's over a week later. We're still talking about it.
Still talking about it. I wish they had let Trump. I think I have a different take on it. I think the old Trump that we had in 2020, we should have brought him back to just crush Biden. When he said you can't fill up a stadium full of people, and my rallies had more people than you do. They kind of toned Trump down a bit, and it highlighted Biden a little too much, made Biden look like a fool. But I wish we had old Trump there to just stomp and put a nail in his coffin, because he was dead in the water in that debate.
I think Trump did a pretty decent job of just by keeping that whole decorum thing like that. And he says, Biden goes off, he's talking, and he kind of does that little thing where you don't know what he's, he kind of mumbles, and then he fades out, and Trump's like, I don't know what he's talking about, and I don't think he knows what he's talking about, kind of thing. And so that was good. I mean, he can hit him that way, because then he goes out after that. They go back on the campaign trail, and he's Trump, right? He can go and talk about the debate,
Uh,
and he's shining because CNN poll 67%, said that Trump won on a CNN poll. I mean, there's just so many devastating things. I don't recall a presidential debate where, here we are 8 days later, still talking about it, and there's probably
about
in sight right now in terms of this, and it is a huge albatross hanging around Biden's neck. It's the fact that this is still a conversation.
Very
I
true.
mean, Trump coming back with the comebacks, and the comeback of the night was he beat Medicare. He beat Medicare to death. I don't even know why Joe Biden said he beat Medicare. What do you mean by what did he mean by he beat Medicare? I mean they should have. The moderator should have said, "What are you talking about?" So I make him look even more stupid. But
Those were
I love it when Trump said, "Yeah, he beat Medicare. He beat it to
They
death."
weren't going to say anything. Hey, David, you wrote an article this week, your Substack, about will Biden be our nominee or not? Their nominee, I should say, not ours. Will the Democrats deny Joe Biden and kill democracy by replacing him? How dare the Democrats do that? How very undemocratic of them.
No, I think he'll be the. I think he'll be. Sorry, guys, I got confused. I think he'll be the nominee. I don't think he'll give it up.
Well, he was in Wisconsin. He says he's not giving up, right? He's gonna continue doing that. That's definitely there's definitely Jill behind a lot of that, right? Pushing him and saying because she's kind of really the power broker at this point in time, keeping him in the race. But what about the media's reaction? I'm reading headlines the next morning about the performance, and it's as if we had no idea. We're shocked about that performance. It's like, no, you're not. You've been lying and covering up for the Biden since he took office. I mean, the rest of us have been watching Joe Biden, and we have been watching him for the last 3.5 years, deteriorate. Just things get worse and worse and worse. We've seen his physical and mental condition get worse, and the media doesn't say a peep about it. They've propped him up. As other people have probably said, it does kind of feel like a Weekend at Bernie's type of a thing, right? And so you've got this going on out there, and this is just if there was anything that called for media malpractice, this is a prime example of media malpractice because and now they're at the White House press conferences and they're trying to ask some questions to try to redeem themselves. Of course, with Karine Jean-Pierre, she doesn't know what the heck she's doing anyway. So,
Joe Biden did have the sniffles, and then
it went from a cold to jet lag. How long had he been home, and how much preparation time did he have? Come on, give me a break.
Hey, Dave, you remember this, or even Don, you remember this? Remember when Leonid Brezhnev was out of sight for months? What did the Soviets say? He's got a cold.
Oh yeah,
that was a terminal cold.
But it is also. I think it's important to note the bias that they don't even ask her any tough questions, Karine, about Medicaid. What some of the things that Biden said, or Medicare, I should say. It just gets a pass for the debate. They just figure, well, he had a bad night. So
I'm waiting for Joe Biden to say the debate was a deep fake.
Well, he apparently
it was probably a cheap fake.
Well, he's being interviewed by Stephanopoulos now, and I don't think Stephanopoulos will press him on what did you mean by defeating Medicare. I don't think he'll say it. I think he'll just be kind of softballs. Do you feel you're up to the job? And Biden will say, yeah. And, things like that.
But they've got no bench. Here's the sad thing is they replaced Biden. Trump is still going to win. They have no bench. There's one person that could be a little bit threatening, and that's Terry McAuliffe, the former failed governor of Virginia, because he comes from the Clinton era, and he's got no principles whatsoever. So
I think
that's the randomest pick you could pull out.
No, actually, I was actually talking to a friend of mine. She was actually a Clinton appointee, and She goes, but the party's not smart anymore. It's the AOC party. And a lot of Democrats are really kind of frustrated with today's Democrat Party. It's become the party of AOC, Bernie Sanders, and Elizabeth Warren, frankly. It's no longer the party of Scoop Jackson, Joe Lieberman, and Pat Moynihan.
I think Kamala Harris is going to be the nominee. I think they're pushing. I heard, if you read the news today, Kamala is talking about looking for a VP for her to run, and I think that's what they're really trying to do to keep the money that they've raised. But there's no way in hell she's going to beat through Joe Biden. They're trying to play identity politics and get the black vote again, and she's not even black. So I think the American people are woke at this point, and they're trying to do so much for the black vote, but these tricks and pandering, it's just not going to work this time. And it's definitely not going to work with Kamala Harris. So they need to wake up.
On that same note, let me bring something up, okay? Angela Brooks was on television last night. There was a shooting in Prince George's County. Shocker, And you know what she blamed? She blamed the prevalence of guns, not her soft on crime policies, her catch and release for criminals. The revolving door she had installed at the jail in Prince George's County, where criminals come in and they got they just roll right out. And she was talking about a shooting. I guess there was a shooting last night in Upper Marlboro or someplace in PG County. And I think, the best was they had a father that they were, now she wants to be a senator. She needs to clean, and this is a black guy on television. He goes, she thinks she wants to be a senator, but she needs to fix her county first, I've got no confidence in her being our next senator, as he said. I think, it's the Democrats are not going to be able to play the race card like they did before, frankly. I don't think they can play that because I want to say the false charges that Trump was brought on, with some blacks, African Americans in the inner city, they do resonate with false imprisonment and stuff like that, trumped up charges. They kind of have a kinship with President Trump because he was falsely accused and railroaded in that New York case. What do you think, Chris?
I think that identity politics. I think identity politics is over. This whole woke movement has backfired on him, and now you got 30%. It's unheard of if President Trump gets 30% of the black vote. That's unheard of. And I know the media's going to do a blackout on it and not speak about it, but you got more African American males voting for Trump, looking for Trump for. We just don't like Biden at this point. We're tired of being fooled and suckered for our vote. And you got this man that clearly has dementia on Juneteenth, froze in front of the White House or wherever they was at, and the crowd that they had around him, it was like propping up a dummy standing there. It might as well have been a Joe Biden mannequin. Just like the poster you have behind you, Don, it'd be like they're standing there stiff. It might as well have just been a cutout of Joe Biden standing there. And I think more people, all Americans, no matter what their ethnic background, are just tired of the pandering and tired of the bull crap coming from the left. So Trump's going to be the next president of the United States.
Yeah, and you were talking earlier about, before Chris, about Kamala. The thing is that the Democrats have put themselves into this situation, right? Biden had promised a woman as the VP. He chooses Harris. He gets the person of color, VP candidate, type of thing, gets her there. But then you get this whole woke DEI stuff hurts them. It comes back to bite them time and time again. If he had chosen just a competent person, they would have a much better alternative at this point in time. Harris, she does run a little closer to Trump on the polling than Biden does, but she's still widely unpopular with a lot of people.
Look at the great job she did with
in the Democratic Party.
Oh wait,
so they don't really have a lot of viable candidates and where they're going to turn. And with the rules and all this stuff, Chris, you said about the campaign money and all this, there's so many factors that go on. They're basically kind of stuck with Biden. But when you have the Washington Post and the New York Times, going out there and saying he needs to step aside, and the Washington Post, not that they just issue, do an editorial, to say that it was time for him to go. They did basically a mock editorial the other day saying, what if Biden said these words? And it was basically kind of like a speech if Biden was going to step aside. It would have been like the statesmanly type of thing to do. It's like, when has the Washington Post ever done anything like this? This is in the media and the liberals, the Democrats, they're in crisis mode.
They are.
Good.
Yeah. So
my feeling is that you got to keep Biden. If you keep Biden in, Republicans have a very good night. I mean, not just Donald Trump, but the Senate and the House candidates have a good night as well. That is, we should say, don't replace Joe Biden. Keep him there because he's a gift for us right now.
I've always said that, Don. I mean, replacing Joe Biden is an injustice to the voters, all the people across the country that voted for him in the primary. This is saying democracy doesn't matter. We're going to take away your choice. The Polar Bureau is going to pick the next leader, not the people. Democracy dies if Joe Biden is replaced.
Oh, yeah. And this is coming from the same people who say that if you elect Donald Trump, democracy dies, right? I mean, and there was this thing about Joy Reid. She's like, we can't have Hitler elected. I'll vote for Joe Biden if he's in a coma. I mean, this is how ludicrous things have gotten when people are making that decision. They don't care what situation, what condition Joe Biden is in. They will vote for him no matter what. We're talking about our country and our future. It's like, I'm an American. I want to support our president as in terms of the office of the president, but unfortunately, President Biden has become an embarrassment. This is not someone. He's not capable of running the country right now. I mean, that's another huge question. Is like, what's he doing? I mean, you may have seen that clip where Kamala introduces him. She has that first slip of the tongue where she says vice president, corrects herself to president, and he, Biden's got the microphone, and he goes ho ho ho. It's July.
It's Christmas in July. Remember Prime Days?
No, that's what I said. That's what I told my wife. I said he must have thought it was Christmas in July. What kind of thing is it? This is not helping him after the debate at all. This kind of stuff does not help him at all. Unbelievable.
And
Maybe he was talking to Kamala.
speaking of Independence Day, yes, we had some great.
That was kind of
parades.
another subtext I thought about that too, Chris.
Maybe he was slipping her an insult.
Yeah,
Shut up.
kind of hoe.
Yeah.
So, Jason, how were the parades yesterday?
Didn't go to any of them.
You didn't go to any of them? I figured
It was
you
great.
did the Annapolis parade. I thought you would have done the Annapolis parade.
Nope. The Annapolis one's the worst one. I can't stand the Annapolis parade.
How long is that parade?
It's like a little over a mile, probably a mile and a half.
Oh, that's not that.
I don't know. It's probably like a mile.
He's going to Texas. Things will be bigger and better in Texas.
Yeah.
I went to the Annapolis parade. It was great. It got rained on, but that's why I got all this Trump gear on. I was on the Trump. I never thought I would have "Make America Great Again" red on at all, but they was giving it out down there in the parade, and they actually had a Trump float in the parade, and it was raining, but the response was great, and I think I'm surprised it didn't make the news. I know they're going to talk about it here in Maryland, but that was a good turnout for the Annapolis parade, even though it was raining. And I was at the Severna Park one earlier. Didn't have a Trump deal.
Why did it rain in Annapolis? I'm just out of curiosity. I mean, I'm up in Gaithersburg. We didn't get any rain till late in the afternoon.
It rained for a while yesterday evening. I didn't go.
Yeah, we didn't. I mean, because most of our parades up in Montgomery County are in the morning to early afternoon, so we didn't. I didn't go to any of them, but they had clear skies. Just
well, I don't think we have any parades in Montgomery County for Independence Day.
Not
But
at
just
all.
it rain. I
We
mean, the
don't
rain
Maverick
didn't really
County,
put
we
a
don't
damper
believe in
on
America
anything,
here.
but it rained. It came down. I mean, it wasn't hard. It was just it was in clear skies, but no one moved off the streets, and we all went around. Hogan was way in the front. And he marched rain or he's gonna march rain or shine, he's gonna march. So it went on without a hitch. I liked it. I mean, I never thought we could, actually do a parade in the rain, but it was pretty good.
Good for you guys.
And also, Don, have you seen some of our friends in the media of how they're kind of walking back? They're basically they're trying to they're all like in damage control mode is what I'm thinking with the whole Biden stuff right now. It's like they seem to be trying to grasping at, hey, people are going to start thinking we're uncredible by the end if we don't say something. Have you noticed that?
Well, that's what I was saying before. I mean, the thing is that where do you hide when you're the media now after everything that you've done to cover up his condition? What do you do? How do you make good on that? How do you try to make it look like, oh, we've just discovered this, and so we're going to do some real honest hard reporting. And I think as Dave was mentioning, Biden's going to have this interview with Stephanopoulos, but what are we expecting from that? He'll be coached and prepped as much as possible for that in a very friendly atmosphere. So maybe that gives the chance for Joe to improve his status a little bit, but the damage to the Biden campaign has sustained on this debate is just virtually irreparable at this point in time. It's just really, really bad. Now, I don't know if any of you guys are on any Democratic email lists or anything like that, but I think I'm still on a DNC list or something like that. And I was like yesterday, I think I got at least 3 emails from the DNC, from Biden or from Gavin Newsom, and all about nothing about the debate, right? All about the dangers of Trump and what could happen because of the Supreme Court, right? And all the rulings that they had and everything like that. So here we are on July 4th, and not really anything about not a message about just where you could really talk about the greatness of America. It's all about we have to stop Donald Trump because the Supreme Court basically is giving him unfettered powers to do all kinds of things. He could go out and have people shot and stuff like that. So these emails are I'm like, are you kidding me?
By the way, also the Supreme Court has also vindicated President Harding, President Nixon, and Vice President Agnew. They've all been vindicated this week. So I believe
was Agnew really vindicated, Dwight? Because didn't he get impeached for things he did before he was vice president?
Yeah, in Maryland. Let's be blunt. In Maryland, every politician
kind of
has their fingers in the.
I know everybody was taking bribes. Everybody was taking bribes.
I mean, Louis Goldstein. I remember a story about how when the Harry Nice Bridge went up, he goes, "Oh, I better get a piece of that action," or he had a piece of the Bay Bridge action. I mean, Marvin Mandel was sent up the creek, so to speak. So I think look, you got to take the good with the bad with Governor Agnew. Okay, Governor Agnew did usher in tax reform in Maryland. That was unheard of prior to him. BWI Airport, Friendship Airport, he moved it from Martin State Airport to where it is now, to lovely Hanover, Maryland. Is that the address? Is it Hanover for BWI, Jason?
I think so.
Yeah, lovely Hanover. Sprawling little town by that little.
Actually, it could be Linthicum. I don't know.
The last exit before you go to the airport, if you want to go to off parking, says Linthicum, but I don't know if that goes to the
maybe
airport.
It's Linthicum. Okay.
Yeah, but
the town without the outlet mall. But so I think but President Harding definitely vindicated. He was the one that everybody beat up on before President Nixon. By the way, Warren Harding.
Yeah,
I'm hearing people talk about the Supreme Court thing, which is like Don said, it's just stupid. I mean, hasn't he always had limited? Hasn't presidents always had limited immunity to fake prosecution? And as far as the media, I don't think, like what you said earlier about them now seeing Joe Biden, I don't think that's the case. What I think, they lost faith in him before they were live. See what we do before. Some media outlet was still lying, like, "Oh, Joe Biden did the best performance. He was cognitive. It was Donald Trump." See, when you spin like that, and this shows that our media is Donald Trump's been right all along. We have the fake news media. I think that night when Van Jones made his statement, I think they were fed up. I think they were just saying we can't cover for this guy no more. We watched that debate and we just can't cover for him no more. We're gonna have to come out and try to tell the American people we can't cover for this no more. Not with him doing live debates like that. And if we do another live debate, it's going to make us look like we're lying. So we're just going to sit here and tell the truth. He looks like he had a bad night or whatever, had a cold, or they can't. That lie didn't even go well. So they was like, the media's like, I don't think people are saying, "Oh, we didn't know this." The media's just not willing to lie for Joe Biden anymore because it's embarrassing to the nation and it also becomes embarrassing to them.
They also let's be a little fair. They also said he had jet lag. I mean, Jason, Don, we all travel a lot. We've traveled across. Have you ever been jet lagged for a week or more? 8 days?
No, you can't sell that lie. You can't sell it. You can't.
David.
Yeah, they tried everything. It was like, "Oh, we can't do this." And I think they're trying to convince Joe Biden to step aside.
Well, also the other piece of this whole puzzle is he only works from 10:30. He'll only be working 10:30 to 4 because that's his peak hours. Those aren't even bankers' hours.
Yeah, we got all kinds of stories. Basically, it's like the dam burst on Biden. Once the performance was out there, the debate performance, all of a sudden you get all kinds of people and all kinds of little unacknowledged, anonymous sources and things like that, and talking about, oh, well, during the debate prep, they would work, they would work on him for a couple hours and he'd take a nap and they'd bring him back and stuff like that.
Have a little snack, have his warm milk and cookies.
I was wondering, was he napping? I was wondering, did he take naps or did he go to sleep at some times? I'm wondering.
Look, I think naps are. I've been taking naps for most of my life, and I think they're great. But we've got the leader of the free world, and he's a little old to say the least, and we know he's mentally compromised, and I don't think his naps are just short naps. I can take a 15-minute power nap or whatever, and I feel a lot better after that. But I think Joe Biden needs a much.
I think I need 30 minutes, Don, for a nice nap. 45 is optimal. Yeah, I need minimum of 30.
Yeah, it depends on how tired you are and how much you need and what time of day it is and things like that. But it doesn't surprise me he takes naps. But on the other hand, it's like this guy. It's just another case of, he can only handle so much information. I kept thinking about, one of the problems that Biden has. Because he's unscripted in this debate, is that he's been prepped. But I think because of his mental, issues, he can only retain a certain amount of information at a time. Donald Trump, even though he's just a few years younger, is just kind of like, I don't know, like a machine gun or whatever. He has got a lot of information packed in his head, and he will just fire away. And and then the media tried to downplay Biden's performance, right, by saying, well, Biden may have not looked great, but Trump lied a bunch of times, and they had fact checkers at the New York Times and whatnot. Like Trump was being Trump in that sense, but Trump was able to stand on his feet and think and say things. Joe Biden can't really do that. He needs a teleprompter. Without having somebody in his ear or anything like that, this this is going to be a disaster. The fact that they agreed to do this, and they have no one to blame but themselves, because they're the ones that said we challenged Donald Trump to debate, right? And Trump agreed to their rules. And it's like, now if you're Biden's advisors, you're like, what did we do?
I think they did that on purpose. I'm telling you, I think we look at watching a swap out. All this fakeness has really gotten to all of us. I mean, we're not seeing this coming up. I think they're gonna swap. They did that on purpose to swap. Let everybody know. CNN did the. I mean, you saw the CNN after commentary. The commentary. They were totally against him. So his own party. So I think they're setting us up for a swap out. They just don't know who to swap them out with. And I think after the Republican convention, I guarantee you they're going to swap Joe Biden out with. I'm thinking it's going to be Kamala at this point. They're going to swap him out.
Yeah, well, they got to do it before August 7th because that's the deadline for Ohio. Yeah. Early voting starts in September in Virginia. And last question for the final thoughts, real quick, Don, will Joe Biden be our nominee? Yes or no? They're down.
I'm going to say yes. I'm still going to say that he will be.
Jason, Biden or Harris?
I'm going to go no. I think it'll be Harris. I think if Biden was going to stay, I think the media would have turned around. I feel like we would not be seeing as many. I don't think it would still be a news story going on 8 days now, and then you have a new story that just popped up that a group of Democrat senators led by Mark Warner is starting to, get Biden to step down draft letter. I don't know. I think there's a lot.
Mark Warner is another one who flirted with wanting to be president for a long time. Maybe he sees this as
and I'll say this. I mean, things could change this weekend because there's no doubt, as Jason said, I mean, pressure is mounting. The question is, how are they going to react to that at this point in time? Once again, if Jill Biden has anything to say with it, they're not going anywhere. But how much longer can they hold on? That is.
I don't think people are buying the all hands governors meeting that they had the other night, where everybody came out and said, "Oh, we're behind."
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's buying it.
Even Wes Moore said, "Hey, we like Joe."
And as soon as they take out Joe and put in Kamala, he'll say, "I'm all for Kamala Harris." I mean,
by the way, yeah,
he's just playing. He's just towing the company line right now. I mean. So,
I wish we could be that way, Jason, in the Republican Party, toe the party line, no matter, none of this infighting we have. I'll never vote for Larry Hogan, or I'll never vote for Donald Trump. It's like, come on, toe the company. We support our party's nominees, guys. Chris, will it be crazy Kamala or Sleepy Joe Biden?
I think we're being set up by the media. I think the media is running the show now for the election. I'm serious. You're going to hear they're going to swap him out with. He's not going to be our nominee. Their nominee. He's not going to be their nominee. Kamala Harris is going to be their nominee, or someone else. They can't lose the money, though. I read the money that they raised with Joe Biden. It's like you said, Dwight. I mean, early voting is about to start, so. If they got to do it, they got to do it quick. So we'll know something in the next month, and I think he's not going to be our nominee. They can't afford another debate like that. It's no way. And if they shoot him up with another B12 shot or something, he might overperform or something. They cannot afford. It's supposed to be 3 debates. Am I correct? 3 of them?
2. There were 2. There's supposed to be another one in September, which I doubt will take place.
That's on Fox, isn't it?
I doubt that takes place. So if they do that, I think they're gonna swap. I mean, they're even gonna cancel that debate and put someone else new in and rush and go with that. But I don't think Joe Biden. No, Dwight. Joe Biden's not going to be a nominee. I think someone else is.
Okay, I will say it's not going to be crazy Kamala, nor is it going to be Joe Biden. I think they're to go skip over Kamala, which is going to, I think, really burn them with the black vote. I think, I think they're going to go with Gavin Newsom or Kathy Hochul or somebody like that, who I don't think either one of them can beat President Trump in November. There is not a Democrat that can beat President Trump that I can think of right now. I mean, if you go down the list of, prospects, Tim Kaine can't beat him. John Kerry, what are you going to do? Bring Hillary back? Dust her off the shelf? Pump her up with some, send her to a really good Burbank plastic surgeon and bring her back,
How come I can't see you anymore?
I don't know. It's like weird. The camera's on, but I'm not there. I tried a few things to get it back on. Like,
in our little bar down below, I can see it. Well,
there we go. I think it's coming now. Hold on. Let me see something.
yeah.
No, nothing yet. That was weird. It's technology. It's not exact science.
Can you see the camera, Dwight? The cam on and off?
Yeah, it's on. The camera's on.
Oh wow!
See, if I stop the camera, you see I get the beautiful Maryland flag there. If I turn it on, that's what I get. But we're at final thoughts, everyone. It's 8 o'clock. Let's start with you, Chris Anderson. Final thoughts. What's
I think we're looking at final thoughts. I think we're looking at a major shift for conservative values and the Republican Party. I think the whole world, starting off talking about Nigel and that happening. I mean, it's happening across the globe. I mean, several countries are doing this. Everybody's moving towards conservatism now because of all of the liberal progressive nonsense. And I think here in America, November is going to be a wild election, because if the shift happens here, it happens everywhere. I think we're going to look for look at a crazy country, because a lot of the the libertards are going to go crazy. They're going to get triggered. We're going to see violence in the street and riots and stuff like that just because Trump won. But I think we're looking at a landslide for President Trump. And by the way, Dwight, what you said about them, if they switch out and bypass Kamala, the black vote is gone. The identity politics is gone, and everybody's going to vote for Trump. And the numbers are going to reflect that. And we're watching a monumental election race this year. The only worst thing that can happen is President Trump's lose, and the only way they can do that is swipe Joe Biden out with someone like Michelle Obama, which is, she doesn't want to do it, but if that happens, oh God! But I'm praying it doesn't go that way.
Joe, by the way, Michelle does not like Joe because she's pals with Hunter's ex-wife, and she does not like how the Bidens treated his ex-wife.
Right. So thank God she's not considering it, but that's the only way. But I'm thinking right now, I'm not gonna talk that up. I'm going to stick with the mess that they got with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. But if they swap, well, they will swap them out. When Kamala Harris takes the reins, she doesn't know anything about politics. She's going to lose, and she's going to lose bad. And we're watching a landslide for the Republican Party. Hooray for us. That's all I have to say. Hooray for America, not for us. I'm sorry. Like you said, Dwight, we need to start thinking about, especially the Republican Party, we need to start thinking about the bigger picture. Hooray for America. It's going to be a bumpy ride, but I think the Trump train is the best way to go.
All right. Final thoughts, Jason Trott.
We'll just stay on the same topic, because I think I think the switch will happen, right? I think most of the people calling for Biden to leave have been sort of institutional Democrats, sort of people who are in safer seats. Mark Warner, I mean, he's like a long-term senator. He's not up for re-election. He would be pretty safe if he was. The surprise is that you haven't seen sort of the frontline Democrats yet in those tough districts who would be at the most risk. Like Don said, if they leave Dwight on the ballot, if they leave Joe Biden on the ballot, you might see them lose, when I think Democrats were expected to, it was a foregone conclusion that they would take the House. So I think it'll be interesting to see over the next week or two, or leading up to the convention, if you see more sort of like congressional Democrats and Democrats in the Senate start to say, I think we need to.
James Raskin got some concerns about Joey B. too.
Jamie Raskin did say the most interesting thing. He said there was a way he phrased it. It was like it needs to be smooth and quick or something. Like he just the way he phrased whatever when he went on MSNBC to talk about it. It was as if they had already, he was talking as if it was already a decision that was made, and they just got to figure out how to do it. and not
Okay.
make it, a long drawn out thing. So I don't know. I think like a week before the convention, a week before the Democratic convention, is when you'll.
Why is their convention so far off this year? I mean, considering early voting starts in many states.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's traditional. I thought the mid-August was about right.
Yeah, well, usually it's been the party in power goes last.
Because we went to the White House for Trump's, the half convention that we did, and I remember that being like pretty close to. It was like almost Labor Day, I think. So
Yeah, I think it was the end of August. Yeah,
it was pretty late because I remember it was
ours is just really early this
so
year.
hot. It was the hottest time ever sitting outside. But,
that's why I did not go.
You were smart. I mean, it was a cool thing to go to, but at the same time, I was like, I don't need to do that again.
But so final thoughts, Don Irvine.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as I said before, I mean, we've got the Democrats kind of on the ropes. They're in a crisis mode. This weekend, I mean, there could be a lot more developments. We might see the predictions of Jason and Chris come true. You may see a lot more movement, towards, getting everybody, for spending, in essence, for me, over like 55 plus years of politics, watching things from a young boy to now. I've never seen anything like this before. Where a party's been in this much of a crisis about their nominee, and this is really this is really a big problem for them. Plus the fact that the Democrats are meeting in Chicago. Okay, historically, this has not gone well for the Democrats when they meet in Chicago. So there's so much talk about how they're going to separate things and do things because they're still thinking about 1968 convention in Chicago and what happened there during the Vietnam War. And because of the Biden administration's positions on Israel and all these other things that have come to pass, they've got a lot of things going on there politically where they're facing a lot of protests already. Now you throw this whole who knows who's going to be the nominee up in the air kind of a thing like that, adding to be, more turmoil in the party. This is going to be, Christy said, it's wild. It is definitely going to be wild. Maybe the wildest thing that we have seen ever, to watch this. And it'll be interesting to see how the media plays this at this point in time too, going down and if they really try to honestly cover all of this that is going on there. But I also just wanted to make one final comment about the Supreme Court, because Supreme Court, their term, it was pretty good overall for conservatives, not wins across the board or completely across the board, but Trump, his immunity case went well for him. The Chevron deference went away, and that's another big one there too, because it really starts to dismantle all these government regulations, the authority of the federal government. And it's one thing that's always bothered me about the Biden administration is that it seems like I can't open the paper, without yet another rule, being made by some government agency, whether or not it's FTC or SEC. We're going to do this. We're stopping this merger. We're going to do. We have to protect the consumer and all these kind of things. And they just kind of add all these layers on there, and these kinds of things stifle our economy. Our freedom to be able to do things. When you start layering all these extra costs, all kinds of things happen. So and you can just watch the liberals' reaction. When AOC wants to go and she wants to impeach the justices and things like that. They're generally on the right track. They don't always vote the way we want them to, but on Chevron deference, I mean, Neil Gorsuch, his mother was the EPA administrator that was part of that whole rulemaking in the beginning. 40 years later, he's undoing what his mom did. So it's pretty amazing how what kind of things can happen in this world. But we're in for a very interesting. We've got 4 months to go, and it's going to be something else. A sight to behold for all of us. And by that time, Jason will be in Texas and in a much redder state.
Jason leaving? Jason's leaving?
Yeah, he's going to law school.
Yep.
Oh, you coming back?
I don't know. No.
He's going to be hanging out with E.J. Pipkin out there in Dallas.
He won't have income tax in Texas.
Very true.
But Westmore may hit you with an exit fee.
Yeah, I gotta pay it as I go over the Woodrow Wilson Bridge on my.
You can try gone from Maryland. Jason Trott. Oh.
So yeah. So
All right,
my final thoughts are pretty much along the same lines. I don't think Biden makes it to the finish line, frankly. I do think that also the Supreme Court did hit a blow to free speech when they sided with social media companies and saying politicians can censor free speech, like the Hunter Biden laptop story again. And they think that's just okay. Remember when liberals used to be for free speech? Do you guys remember those days when they all cared about free speech and stuff like that? And
Well, they still certainly do.
And a couple things. I don't know if you guys seen any of those new ACLU commercials with Judy Blume, author of Fudge and Super Fudge, and yeah, those are the only books I can think of that she's written. Maybe Freckle Juice was her too, but I don't know. But Judy Blume is talking about book banning, and I'm sorry. These people are such idiots when they talk about, that Republicans want to ban books. Do you guys remember back when they wanted to ban Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer from public school libraries? They wanted to get rid of Catcher in the Rye and other novels such as that. You guys wanted to ban books like that, and we're just saying we're just trying to keep pornography out of public schools, out of children's sections of the books. And that's my final thoughts. We're for free speech and we're against pornography. Democrats are against free speech and for pornography. That's my final thoughts.
All right.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
All right. 2024. Trump 2024.